one of the concerns I have is that manufacturers are being able to say that they're phasing out PFAS and PFOA and the legacy compounds, yet the precursors, as you mentioned, are still transforming at some point in the process to these endpoints, the same endpoints that we know are problematic. And with the widespread detection of PFAS in the soil samples that we saw in that USGS study, how do we go about and I know I was a little concerned about some of the things you said about different treatment technologies and whether or not they were actually because of the process that the precursors may not be transforming, so whatever ultimately happens to those products in the end, they still may transform along along that path. So, we're sort of grappling with a real, the whack-a-mole approach is something we always talk about with these chemicals. And how do we get to a point where we know that these chemicals are not going to transform into these dangerous endpoints, and that we're considering all that and where those things end up. So, like, I've heard lots of stuff from people in Merrimack saying that the wastewater treatment plant that had industrial waste coming from St. Gobain for decades, that was going to places where they made fertilizer, and then people are putting it on their gardens and things like that. So, like, it's just an enormous problem. I guess I just wanted to spurt out all my concerns
So
at once.
yeah,
But
so
what are we going to do about this problem where there are different, they're still there essentially. They're just not there in the raw materials, but they end up in
I think the one
the
thing we
same
need to
thing.
understand is that there are over 4,000 versions of this compound. So the 1633 method is a 40 compound list. We can get
Yes.
a list up to 70 compounds. So the understanding of this chemistry in our environment is still very little, and how this chemistry is used in commerce in our products that we buy, whether the product is made in the United States or made in a different country.
But can you sort of go back to the soil sampling that was done and how I don't believe from what I heard that any of those samples were targeting specific known sources of sludge or any of that, it wasn't in some of these land spreading applications. But has the agency, you must have, I know in the past I've seen looked at really targeted sampling of sludge spreading operations, and how that I think those samples actually are a better case scenario because they avoided all those all those sources that we know about or expect or suspect.
When we
So
look at with our investigation, we have focused on the sludge that is utilized. We haven't gone out to the sites yet to sample them. I think when we get into that conversation of going to these farms, we need to include Department of Ag,